My name is Frank Iacobucci. I'm an ex-law professor, an ex-deputy minister of justice, an ex-chief justice of the federal court, and an ex-justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. There's only one thing I would say about the role of the court in the difference between interpreting the law and changing the law. Well, the fact of it is, when I went to law school, there was this acceptance, well, at least this myth, that courts don't make law, they just interpret law. Well, every interpretation of law is a change in the law. When you interpret a statute as a judge, that judge, she is saying quite clearly, this section is to be interpreted this way. When she says that, that's basically amending the statute to reflect her interpretation. You can't avoid that. But the question is that the proper role for the court? Of course it is. We have a rule of law, and we say to our citizens that if you have disputes, solve them by going to the courts, not because every problem is soluble by the court. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have a legal problem, a legal question, you go to the court. And that legal problem, at least, will get that interpretation. It may not bring an end to the fight, but it brings an end to the legal dispute as such. And so we say that the interpretation of the Charter is in fact a sort of, not an amendment of the Constitution, but it sort of gives meaning to what that constitutional provision says on something. And then the one thing that I would say about the Charter is that, first of all, apart from it, it's important to keep that thing in mind I said about the Supreme Court versus the Supreme Legislature, which is what Justice Douglas once said in the United States Supreme Court. That you mustn't trivialize the Charter. The Charter has really got wonderfully important points, so you don't want to sort of take every little case and sort of make a constitutional issue out of it. That's trivializing the Charter. One unfortunate aspect of looking at rights, freedoms, if you like, privileges, is that it tends to de-emphasize duty, obligation, responsibility as citizens. And we have to keep that in mind. It's very important. I don't mean we stop a progressive interpretation of what rights mean and to take breadth and not narrow meanings of rights. That's important for lots of reasons. But at the same time, we should be mindful that citizenship doesn't just carry rights and freedoms and privileges. It carries duty, obligation, and responsibility. And that is every bit as important for a society that is to work together, that is to live together, and to have harmony amongst all of its people. And sometimes we overemphasize the entitlement side as opposed to the obligation side. But that doesn't mean that the creation of our Charter was a very important and I believe very worthwhile addition to the constitutional landscape of our country.